Yeah,
Yo.
yeah. What's going on, guys?
I bob, I weave. I bob, I weave.
He's silly. All right, guys, what's going on? We're back with another video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video. What we got up?
I assume this is true. So let me get his name to make sure I have his name right. Who's the guy's channel this is? This is Dr. Steve Tully, and he said that
It's Turley.
Judge rules Trump has absolute immunity from prosecution.
Okay, let's go then.
So let's go.
About time.
Okay.
They trying to give it to him to the last minute.
Gracious, nobody's ever seen anything like this in history.
This is crazy.
I think that this is a very weak case that's going to die very quickly, at least
Right.
as far as being prosecuted in Georgia courts. You do have attorneys for Mark Meadows, who is Trump's former chief of staff, who filed a motion a couple of days ago to have a case transferred to federal district court, which they entitled because of a statutory immunity for federal officers, which is the case, obviously, with Mr. Meadows, as well as Mr. Clark, who was a DOJ attorney. So this case does not have, and it's not just, David, a transfer venue to a federal court. It is also an immunity to which they're both entitled. And as I've argued for in an article for you a little while ago, President Trump has a constitutionally based immunity based upon the Supreme Court case that's called Nixon versus Fitzgerald that gives him absolute immunity for all the actions done within the outer perimeter of his constitutional duties, even if those actions were unlawful.
Okay.
So the Fulton County case is not going to hold.
Yeah. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, and more legal experts are coming out and saying precisely what you just heard.
Okay.
Trump has absolute immunity from prosecution for actions taken
Wow.
as president. And now we have what looks like the first of a number of judicial decisions that are saying just that. A Pennsylvania judge has just ruled that President Trump cannot be sued or indicted precisely because of the protection provided to him by presidential immunity. Judge Michael Erdos has just ruled that Trump's immunity extends to a tweet he posted and statements he made during a Pennsylvania State Senate committee hearing in November of 2020, where Trump, of course, alleged fraudulent activity in the state's election counting process. The lawsuit against Trump was brought by a supervisor of Pennsylvania's voting machines during the 2020 election, and that supervisor claimed that President Trump and Rudy Giuliani had together conspired to slander him and cause him to receive death threats and even suffer 2 heart attacks. I mean, poor guy. But according to this Pennsylvania judge, Trump's actions are indeed protected under what's called presidential immunity. Now, this protection comes from a Supreme Court case called Nixon versus Fitzgerald. And as you heard at the beginning from constitutional law scholar David Rivkin, the decision gives the president absolute immunity for all actions done as president, even if those actions were unlawful. So it's very, very interesting. And now it's starting to make the round.
So he has immunity regardless. They're like, what y'all doing? Y'all can't do nothing to him. He has immunity regardless based on his protection. So that's very interesting. I didn't know that they had that kind of level of protection to where regardless if you do something wrong or not, you're covered.
Yep.
Sounds more and more that these 4 cases against Trump may indeed end up getting tossed out precisely because even the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case, they all deal with actions Trump engaged in as president. And it's already happening in Georgia. In the Georgia case, we're already seeing the beginning of this thing getting totally tossed out. Defense attorney Leslie McAdoo Gordon is arguing that Mark Meadows, Trump's former chief of
Now, them some white teeth right there. You talking about them some white teeth.
staff, he's already in the process of basically ending the case, and he's doing it by asking a federal court to remove the case from the state court to the federal court on grounds that it targets his actions as a federal official. Now, according to Gordon, this is intrinsic to the very structure of our federalist system, of which the current Supreme Court, the conservative majority there, has been an avid defender. So the operative principle here is that federal officials can't be targeted under state laws for actions they took in their official capacity. This is part of the federalist system in which certain issues are reserved for states and others for the federal government to handle. And here's the key. What Gordon found in her research was that in previous cases like this, when federal courts intervened, in every instance, when the removal was granted, when the case was taken away from local prosecutors, in every instance, the case got dismissed. And so that's why this fellow at the beginning of this video, the constitutional law scholar, David Rivkin, that's why he doesn't think this case will ever even see the light of day. Meadows' lawyers have already petitioned for the case to be removed from the local courts to the federal courts, and whenever that's done, the case is basically thrown out.
Wow.
Wow.
But
Okay.
there's another way, on top of all of this, there's another way for Trump to get full immunity from prosecution. You're going to absolutely love this because it's all about how we effectively fight back against this blatant weaponization of the law. It's a lot like my friend Ross Givens, what he's doing. He's showing patriots how to use our politicians' corruptions against them for our own benefit. You know exactly what I'm talking about,
Ross
like
Givens.
companies like BlackRock bribing corrupt politicians like Nancy Pelosi with insider trading secrets. They've been doing that for decades now. They
Wow,
know
that-
a whole...
That's why these political officials have so much money. They live in these big lavish houses that far exceed what the level of income they would be getting. Even if they've been in it for 40 years,
Right.
the lifestyle they live doesn't justify their normal W-2 pay stubs.
Right.
That's why they're getting so much money, because all these loopholes they learned.
Side hustles.
Yep. Well, not hustle. Hustle would mean they grinding for it. You mean side stealing and side cheating
Well, there are two
in these
different-
relationships. No,
two
it's some side
definitions.
relationships that they have made.
Two definitions of hustle.
What is it? Okay,
Yeah,
give me both
like,
of them.
So one could be like, this is your side hustle, this is where you get back, and then a hustler is a person that could also be
Oh, you're
deemed,
trying to hustle somebody.
yeah, not as, per positive perspective.
Do the hustle.
So,
Do. Yeah. No,
So,
no,
yeah,
she was.
some of them folks
Hers
is
came
hustlers.
from hustling, from knowing information that you're not privy to. That will make me a lot of money. Because if everybody's privy to, they would make a lot of money too. But they would never let that inside stuff come out.
host of trading secrets that gives them an unfair advantage when picking stocks. But did you know that thanks to a little-known SEC database, guess what? We can have access to those very secrets as well. We get to see what stocks these corporate CEOs are buying up in real time and then piggyback on their trades to gain the exact same advantage for ourselves the Pelosi and the crooks in D.C. have. My friend
Wow.
Ross Givens has been tracking insider trading for years, and his recommendations have led to investment returns of over 200%. Some have hit as high as nearly 1,500%. And now, gang, it's your turn. Click on that link below right now and learn how you, too, can trade like Pelosi. Click on that link and learn how to gain an insider advantage for yourself today. Florida Representative Matt Gaetz has put together a legislative plan to protect President Trump from prosecution.
Let's go.
Gaetz appeared
Wow,
on
okay.
the Charlie Kirk Show and explained precisely how Congress can make sure President Trump crushes these indictments.
You can actually bring President Trump in to give testimony to the Congress, and in doing so, immunize him. Now, there's different forms of immunity that take place at the committee level, subcommittee level. In some instances, for full immunity, you have to have more of a supermajority vote. But if you
Just on a side note, you could tell that joker how big in the mud, boy, just by looking at it. He echoing all through the crib.
That's not his house. It looked like a state building.
There ain't no state, man. That's the house. Look at the column tier. That's the.
It looked like an office building to me.
had a supermajority vote of a committee, like Speaker McCarthy could set up a select committee tomorrow that could bring Trump in and immunize him. And then we could proceed with the very legitimate investigative work that we're doing of the Bidens and the corrupt DOJ. Obviously,
like
we're
it.
aware of the ability for any person to plead the fifth. You can dissolve someone's ability to plead the fifth if you immunize them. And so Congress has this ability that's been recognized. It's even laid out in 18 U.S.C.A. 6002 and 6005, if folks want to look it up. But there, you've got the ability to say, well, we're hereby compelling your testimony. We're giving you immunity for anything you say to us and anything that would lead to. And so, for example, if President Trump came in and said, I'm here to give you testimony about the witch hunt, the abuse of criminal process that Congress has legitimate oversight equities to resolve, And if he were to say things to us, we could immunize him for that conduct that he were to discuss.
Does it take a vote, or does it
frequently happens? But these aren't usual times.
Is it a committee vote? Is it the whole House that has to?
So why hasn't anybody else brought this up for the attention?
But that's what I'm curious to know. Why is this the source, the only source talking about it? Or is this something that they're saying, is this more of a biased take on what you want to happen? Because why hadn't the world just this been every news platform saying boom, 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 he can get immunity, he can get immunity. But why is only this one source talking about it?
Well, he's the Republican that's bringing it up to say, well, here's another way.
But is that
maybe
just
nobody else has thought about it?
But I'm assuming that's the same thing like how Marjorie Taylor Greene, like we're going for impeachment, where it's like it ain't a whole bunch of sources talking about it because it ain't.
Well, but it's starting to
a lot of action ain't taken with that yet.
It's starting to catch fire though.
Yeah.
But he's like, okay, well, here's the plan, and I guess I don't know how they do it, how they do what they do. But maybe he's the first one that thought of it or thought of it and spoke out. Clearly, I'm thinking you weren't the only one that knew this information, but maybe so.
Vote on immunization, and when was the last time this statute was used?
I don't know when the last time it was used. I can say it can be any committee or subcommittee that can grant immunity. So we could even bring him into the subcommittee chaired by my good friend and colleague, Andy Biggs, the crime subcommittee. That has jurisdiction over some of these activities of the Department of Justice. And if Trump were to essentially become a whistleblower, you have to think about it almost like whistleblower protections. Trump, the ultimate whistleblower, potentially the beneficiary of congressional immunity on some of the information.
So there you have it. According to Matt Gaetz, a congressional committee or even a subcommittee could call in President Trump tomorrow as a whistleblower, as it were, right, of government weaponization, corruption. And given that status, the committee can grant him immunity from the corrupt charges, the corrupt indictments that Trump, as a whistleblower, would be exposing.
Wow.
It's pretty neat stuff. Trump would testify before a House committee as a whistleblower, which in turn would trigger immunity protections from the very things he's testifying about, which, of course, would involve all four of these sham indictments. I just love the way Gaetz is thinking here.
Yes.
He's fighting back. He's not sitting back giving these prosecutions, these persecutions, these obvious political witch hunts the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I've said it before. Why on earth would the Democrats ever feel the need to have to cover up their corruption when they have so many Republicans so consistently willing to always give them the benefit of the doubt? Well, Gaetz is stepping up to the plate here, and he's fighting fire with fire, and
That's
I
right.
absolutely love it. So we now have two paths for President Trump to get immunity, a legal path and a legislative path.
A legal path and a
Either
legislative
way,
path.
it's time for all of us to fight back and win. Are
Man.
So what he's saying, although he sees the loopholes in it, but it hasn't been taken into
Consideration.
yet. But he sees the loophole.
Right. And maybe he can reach out to Trump and his team and let them know. I mean, like I said, I don't know how they think, but apparently everybody ain't thinking like this, or if they are, they're not speaking up about it. So good for him to even think outside of the box within the parameters and, to find some solutions to help out Brother Trump.
That's right.
Because, it's a shame he's having to go through all of this for the accusations and claims of what he's done.
Yeah.
And they have not brought Janky Joe in yet.
And they're not. And it's going to happen next year. It won't be this year. It'd be next year, and it'd be like close to election.
It's like when he gets up and I see him speaking now, it's like a facade. It's like a show. You can just see straight through him now. At first, you could believe into the dreamy-eyed story, but now
Dreamy-eyed story.
I mean, but when you look at it from a perspective, not dreamy-eyed, but I mean, we're not saying figuratively, but when you look at it with the blinders on, because you didn't know about all the corruption, and you tried to believe some of what he said was true.
Yeah.
But now he's been caught in so many lies, and it's like the blinders have been removed. You just see him standing up in front of a video camera, just being a fake person.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe, a third of what he says anymore. And I'm wondering, how does this go? Like, take 2, take 1, he's on, lights, camera, action, and then, okay, we're done. All right, goodbye. I'm glad he got that out of the way. I wonder what goes on behind the screen, because that's what it feels like to me now when I see him. It's like blah blah blah. I can't believe anything that you say. You're a crook.
Rant.
That wasn't no rant.
You did just rant.
Was that a rant, y'all? I'm sorry. I just had to say that.
And the last thing I'm waiting to say, oh my God, he's giving me gas. I'm so tired of him. You know how you finish a rant just with your frustrations?
No. He don't get that much of my thoughts.
Oh, Joe.
I'm just like, he's so fake. That's just what I think about when I see him. Anyway, okay, guys.
All right.
Come on. This man is going to be, some good things are going to happen for Trump. That's what I'm claiming.
Like, comment, subscribe. Don't take a nosedive, but comment down in the section below.
If you want some more.
You got to go.
Yeah.
Don't vote for Jack the Joe.